The 1830 kg car is driven by one of 5 engines, each of which has a different degree of forcing. The base GLK with the most modest turbo diesel accelerates to 100 km/h in just 8.8 seconds and consumes an average of 6.9 liters of diesel fuel. The top-end petrol GLK 350 reaches the first 100 in 6.7 seconds, and consumes at least 10 liters per 100 kilometers. Unfortunately, each of the power units has serious drawbacks. So, 3 and 3.5-liter gasoline V6 Series M272 after 60 to 100,000 kilometers may require the replacement of an extended timing chain and a worn intermediate gear of the balancer shaft. In addition, the plastic damper control mechanism and the intake manifold fails. The collector has to be changed only as an assembly. The 3.5-liter M276 got rid of the above ailments, but acquired its own, also associated with the timing system. After 80,000 kilometers, extraneous noise may appear, indicating a malfunction of the timing chain tensioner and whereof the gas distribution stars. The newcomer, the turbocharged 4-cylinder M274, is also prone to timing problems. At any time, the mechanism for changing the timing phases on the intake shafts can fail. Fortunately, the disease is not endemic and is typical for motors assembled before March 2014. Far from ideal and diesel units. At one time, thousands of angry owners of Mercedes 2008 to 2013, including GLK, attacked Mercedes services. What happened? Stuttgart introduced a new 4-cylinder turbo diesel OM651. Soon, he began to pester with injector failures and malfunctions of complex electronics. Mercedes has been changing expensive injectors and updating software for several years. Someone had to deal with the problem several times. Now the situation is under control. There are also problems with the pump, which sometimes does not even take care of 100,000 kilometers. There is a leak, play or whistle. Some mechanics say that after 150 to 250,000 kilometers, the timing chain may stretch, but there are very few real cases. Those who want a more powerful diesel can pay attention to the 3-liter V6. More reliable Bosch injectors are already used here, and not Delphi, as in OM651. Timing chain stretch is rare, but you can face the destruction of the exhaust manifold and subsequent damage to the turbine. Among the shortcomings are oil leaks through the heat exchanger gasket or turbine seal after 100,000 kilometers. In addition, due to the accumulation of soot, the intake manifold flap servo may come out. The weakest diesel, GLK 200 CDI, and petrol unit, GLK 200, had a 6-speed manual gearbox and rear-wheel drive. All other models were equipped with a 7G-tronic automatic transmission and 4-motion all-wheel drive. During the inspection, it is imperative to check the automatic transmission, transfer case and gearbox for leaks. It is very important when buying a used Mercedes GLK to test the operation of the machine. If it jerks during leisurely acceleration and when decelerating before a red traffic light, or noticeably dulls during acceleration, then it is better to stay away from such an instance. It may be enough to change the filter and the old oil, which should be updated every 60,000 kilometers. Or it may need a major overhaul. The first problems with the machine should be expected after 100 to 150,000 kilometers. Most often, you have to change the electronic control unit board located in the box body. With more mileage, the valve body and torque converter wear out. One of the serious vulnerabilities of the 4-matic transmission is the outboard bearing of the drive shaft located in the engine crankcase. The left drive goes straight through the crankcase. The scheme is not new and has been used in all Mercedes models with 4-matics since the days of the W203 and W210. During operation, dirt gets on the assembly, corrosion develops, the bearing jams and turns. Trouble can happen after 60 to 100,000 kilometers, but before that, play will appear at the junction. Some mechanics recommend proactively changing the bearing after 60,000 kilometers. The resource of a multi-link suspension largely depends on the operating conditions. By 100,000 kilometers, Front levers, shock absorbers and thrust bearings may require replacement. Vehicles built between June 2009 and February 2010 had leaks in the power steering high-pressure line. The owners also had to deal with the steering rack bulkhead, or its replacement. Among the common ailments, there are minor ones. For example, a washer reservoir leak. Typical for pre-styling Mercedes GLK. The stove fan motor is located before the filter, which leads to pollution and premature wear. An unpleasant whistle, which occurs after 50,000 kilometers, will serve as a harbinger. Cleaning and lubricating the assembly does not help for long. Some owners are indignant about the creaking in the doors, in the left driver's desk and in the trunk, lock or curtain. Faults in the operation of the tailgate electric drive are also detected. Perhaps the most common malfunction is the failure of the rear side parking sensors. Many change them several times. It's all about the lack of tightness of the case. Water gets inside and disables the sensor.